My name is Antonio Sanders, and I am an advocate here at Access Living. I manage people who also love to communicate with the deaf community. I teach life skills, as well as teach sign language to various different students who want to learn the language.
Okay. What is something you want your healthcare provider to know about your experience getting or trying to get healthcare you need?
I want them to know that I am diabetic, as well as a deaf consumer. I want my healthcare providers to understand that I need an interpreter. That way I can communicate more effectively. And they can communicate with me more effectively. I need full sentences, full answers, as opposed to short, quick, one-wordy answers. I would prefer something more elongated. I would also just appreciate the common courtesy of, how are you? How are you feeling? That's okay, but I want more expression. I want more appreciation and sitting down and really explaining to me everything that I need to know related to my healthcare needs. I don't want someone to hand me a piece of paper and say, oh, this is X, Y, and Z. I want them to explain it to me. I want us to have fluid communication and a full conversation between two people. I want them to be aware of my needs. And I want to know what to do. If I have to take one specific medication during one point of the day, I need that to be thoroughly explained to me. Do I take it in the morning? Do I take it in the noontime or in the evening? Oh, and another thing that's very important. Doctors typically come into the room without an interpreter. Doctors will then just have me rely on lip reading or point to a page in the book. But I then tell them that I'm deaf. How is this supposed to help me? I have a paper here, right here, that says I am deaf, I need an interpreter. The doctor should read it, understand it, get an interpreter, instead of just handing me a piece of paper or depending on me to lip read. The doctor needs to come in with the interpreter. I would prefer it if my healthcare provider were aware of that. I want them to know that they can't call me and assume they can't call out my name and assume that I'm going to hear it. They need to make some kind of hand gesture, something that is obvious to me that it is my turn to go in and see the doctor and see the nurse. They can't just yell out my name and then I'll miss it. I need someone to come up to me and tell me that it is my time with the doctor, or make an obvious hand movement. So, for example, whenever that doesn't happen, I sit in the waiting room for quite a long time. For an example, if I had an appointment at 1 o'clock, I'd see the doctor maybe at 1:30. Take my blood pressure, pinprick my thumb, my finger, and then I'd sit in there and wait for the doctor. Maybe 15, 20 minutes go by. Finally, then the doctor would come into the room and just speak to me verbally, not even attempting to bring in a sign language interpreter. I have very clearly written out every time I go to the doctor. It says right here on a piece of paper, I am deaf and I require an American Sign Language interpreter. The doctors typically will say, oh, okay, wait 1 minute, and leave the room, and then I see them yell something at someone, and then an interpreter may come. As opposed to these brief answers, it really is not the most effective form of communication. I need something expressive. I need someone to sit down and thoroughly go through things with me. If doctors were to have a PSA announced to them, so for example, if I were in there to go get a prostate screening, I need to know, obviously, yes, is it positive, negative? However, sometimes the doctor, nurses, aides, staff will give me a brief answer, but I need something more in depth. I need something more expressive, because otherwise it's hard for me to truly comprehend what's going on, to truly understand the situation and my feelings. I'm obviously a very expressive person. I'm a very emotional person, and I need my health care provider to respond as I may need to be responded to.
So what would you say to your healthcare provider about how getting or not getting the healthcare you need has impacted your life as a person with a disability?
Well, in the past, if I made an appointment to go see the doctor, I'd have to go there in person to make the appointment. However, nowadays, I forget what it's called. It's something my insurance provides, where I can go online, go on the computer, and just click things for my services. And there, a kind of account summary or anything would show up, and it would say that I paid or didn't pay for X, Y, and Z appointment. So I want to make sure that the insurance company pays for my appointment. And I call them and find out the reason why they haven't covered the cost of my appointment. They would tell me I needed to wait the next month to pay for services. I'd say, well, I need the service regularly. And then I go into the clinic and they say, I'm so sorry, we can't delay your appointment, we can't postpone your appointment. And I would be confused. Because then I'd wait until the next month and go and see my healthcare provider. They would ask me if I had insurance. I'd say, yes, of course I have insurance. What's the name of your insurance? To which I'd respond, and then they want me to call my insurance company to verify billing and payment. So I tell my insurance company that they must provide services for me. But the insurance company doesn't know that I'm deaf. They assume that I'm a hearing person who just uses their health care. Of course, I'm going through a video relay system, so they hear a person on the phone speaking and assume that I'm a hearing consumer. Which they'd say, I don't understand because we're communicating right now. Yes, we are communicating right now. However, I am going through an interpreter. I am a deaf man, and the person you're hearing on the phone is an interpreter. The insurance company then has to make an appointment, send it to me. They would then send me documentation to my home of the confirmation of the appointment. An appointment for blood work, for example. So then someone would pick up the phone and want to talk to me. Like the insurance company would want to go back and forth with the doctor's clinic. And they just want to chat. However, I can't. I need to go through a video relay system or just meet face-to-face. To which some of these clinics, some of these providers have maybe never met a deaf person before because they don't know how to act. They don't know how to properly communicate with just a normal person who's also deaf. So when everything is figured out with the healthcare provider, with the insurance company and everything, I would just like them to keep in contact with each other, keep in contact with the clinic, just to make sure everyone is on the same page, making sure I don't miss any kind of medications or any appointments. they both need to be aware that communication is going to be a little bit different with me, and I don't want anything to be lost. Because it seems that most of my experiences is they can't work well with people with disabilities. So the communication is always a little bit weird, a little bit bridged. Whenever they, do get an interpreter or something, someone will say, okay, tell him, pointing to me. Or don't say tell him. You can just look at me and tell me, speak to me, and I can understand what you're trying to convey with the interpreter right there, but don't refer to me in third person. I'm right here. You can just speak to me.